Hello and welcome to Sword and Board Presents May the Board Be With You, always. I'm Luke, and as with me, as always, is my best friend Matt, and this is our running commentary series of every theatrical release Star Wars film. Matt, it has been a while. How are you doing?
Uh, you know, Pretty good. We've actually, I want to say it's almost been a whole pandemic since we did one of these, but
Yeah.
here we are, a couple years later or whatever. Actually, I don't think it's been that long, but
No,
it's
I
been a
think
while.
yeah, it's been a
But it's
while.
good.
Yeah, good.
Getting back on the horse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this installment is going to be probably the best of the series, 1977's A New Hope. Uh, as always, this is a theatrical commentary, alternate commentary series of films. If that's not your cup of tea, totally understand. Tune in next time for when we drop another episode of the regular podcast. What's going to happen is I'm going to read off a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That should get you synced up pretty good with where we're talking, and we'll go from there. So, Matt, if you would do the honors. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
It was a dark and stormy night. I stole that. I stole that. I gotta come clean. I stole that from Riff Tracks. I've seen it so many times.
uh, so I've said it before. I think I said it before on one of the other installments we did, but you can't do a scroll like this unironically anymore, and it's really sad.
Yep,
Be,
this
be,
was the start and the end of it. I know, obviously, they occurred before Star Wars, but they became mainstream definitely with its release. And yeah, you're right. I don't think I've ever seen one since where it wasn't like, oh, that's just Star Wars or making fun of Star
Star Wars,
Wars.
yeah, and it's sad that we've lost that tool. Like, I mean, it's weird that it's a cinematic tool that is completely and it's gone.
Well, they certainly still have like the info dumps at the beginning of movies. Like I want to say, recent memory, the Blade Runner 2049 had it, but it wasn't, of course, scrolling and in space.
Fun
So
fact:
that wouldn't
still
make
have
any
not seen
sense.
that.
Oh my god, I will kill you if you don't see that.
So
I'm
what?
just kidding. It is probably one of my top five movies of the past decade.
Really?
It is. Yeah, I want to. I was a, and you know me. I was a big. I know we're not here to talk about Blade Runner really quickly. It's better than the original. I'll be one of those.
Mm,
And I was a big fan of the original. So
yeah.
anyway, back to Star Wars.
I remember my dad telling me when he first saw this in theaters that this was completely astounding. That this bit right here
Right.
with the ship flying in, and then it just keeps going.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's funny too because it seems to be either shorter or longer since the last time you saw it. So you try to time it in your head, and you're like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
like
yeah, it's still going. It's yep. Is it? Oh, okay, there it is. But then I want to say when I was a kid, it felt like it was over too fast. Maybe because I had like
yeah.
ADHD or something.
I love how in Spaceballs they try. Mel Brooks has said he would have had the entire movie be that sequence if possible, if the studio had let him.
I would have still seen it probably.
Yeah, me too.
You know what's so funny about you mentioned your dad telling you about this? How much of this movie, like how much of your perception of this movie was warped by what other people told you about it versus, and also how based on when you saw it too as a kid, right? Like I want to say half of this movie I totally did not understand when I first saw it, and I watch it now and I still think about that. Like, uh, there's a scene coming up, and I'll point it out where it's like, oh, they ran across the hall, right? Because they're robots and they deflect laser beams, and it's just like what? It's just like how much of this has been warped by other people's perceptions,
Well, I don't remember.
just
I don't
you
remember the
you
first time
being
I
a
saw
child.
this.
Oh, neither do I.
Always
But I
thought
do
that was
remember
Harrison
other
Ford.
people's. Oh yeah, I always thought it was like, oh, that guy's important. He's just 2 days from retirement.
Just 5 minutes ago, we saw Darth Vader at his most epic.
Right, right. Making his own cape float in the imaginary wind. But yeah, we certainly. I mean, add this definitely probably one of the first movies I saw when I probably too young, right?
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have been seeing. Like, I'm trying to gauge now when to show this to my 4-year-old, and I'm like, I even ask her, I'm like, "Are you old enough to watch this yet?" And even she's smart enough to be like, "No, I'm 4 years old."
I mean, it starts out with a bunch of people dying really easily.
Oh yeah, but yeah, right here you're like, how did they? I know it's like, oh, is it fate, destiny, chance, all that crap that they did not get shot.
Mm-hmm.
And as a dumb kid, I was just like, oh yeah, they're just because he's shiny, he just reflects the bullets.
I love how universally everyone describes Vader walking out as like the most terrifying thing they'd ever seen.
Yeah, I was very perplexed by it because I think one of the things I did do before I saw the movies, I do remember this, is I had like the storybooks
Mm-hmm.
that had like the scenes from the movies. I think I looked at them in the library or somewhere, and I kind of made up my own version of what the story was. And so when I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's that guy. He's, I don't think I could read, but yeah, but yeah, I knew he was bad. I just didn't know how. He's just the middle manager that comes in and looks around. He's like, yeah,
I'm gonna need your
Not
TPS
doing a lot.
reports a little better.
working hard or hardly working.
Can you come in on Saturday? Do droids just automatically have to comply?
Yeah, if they have a restraining bolt, Lucas, don't you know the lore, man?
I suppose that's true.
What? Isn't it true that they don't need James Earl Jones anymore to do any of the voice?
Yeah,
Which is sad.
Oh, it's sad, but he deserves to be able to retire.
He's like 100 years old or something.
Yeah, and he also like he's gonna get the royalties of doing his voice.
And of course, you listen to the original with what's his face, David Prowse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was getting him confused with Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew, or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, he's Mr. Mr. like high-end British man.
Leia, the most competent or second most competent character in the entire series.
Oh yeah, she doesn't give a shit. She's just like, I'm fighting tyranny, man. Get off my ship.
I know you're not much of a Harry Potter person, but I just always laugh. There's a, Han Solo would be a Slytherin. No, he wouldn't. He's definitely a Hufflepuff, and clearly Leia is the Slytherin who snuck her way up through guile and intrigue.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, she's a politician, right?
Exactly. And the coldest hot take in the world, why do they not shoot?
Just trying to save some money on the electricity bill or something.
Yeah.
That's the joke. How much of this movie do you truly believe was saved in the editing room?
A large portion of it. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing that can't be applied to this series, to this film, that can't be applied to the prequels.
Right.
Like cheesy dialogue, bad acting, bad special effects failures.
Well, it's just so interesting to see like original concepts, which any movie has some wild concept art and scripts and things, but
Yeah.
this one in particular like was going to be a completely different movie. And in fact, they made 3 other movies to try to take care of the cutout plot that was intended for this movie.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I lost my thought. I want to say I've been thinking a lot about because Andor just came out, right? And I'm
So good.
dating this recording, but about how political Star Wars was or is versus was.
It's fascism versus liberty,
Right.
so to speak. But I mean,
Right. It's like it basically starts out with the dissolution of a democratic body, right, by a fascist autocrat. Although we don't see him, I mean, we know it's happening, and everyone's dressed as
totally not Nazis.
period. Yeah, I was gonna say like they're just LARPing or something. I don't know. LARPing Nazis.
Have they ever explained why 3PO's leg is a different color?
Well, I want to say in episode 2, right? Wasn't he all messed up in the
Oh yeah,
Geonosian factory or something? I don't know. For some reason that comes to mind. I could be completely wrong. He's been messed up a lot
that's
throughout,
true.
the prequels. And you can bet every single little
Detail, yeah.
aspect of everything has been explained in the lore at some point, whether it's legacy or new
Well,
canon.
yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Dave Filoni because he took the worst job on the planet, pleasing an unpleasable fan base.
Yeah, it's true. And something as like divisive as Thrawn, right, which kind of got a complete makeover. I mean, he did a little dirty in Rebels, but in terms of all the other stuff that's come out with Thrawn, which has nothing to do with Dave Filoni, but yeah, so some of the retread has been good, at the very least that they're bringing things back that people want, right? Versus,
I'm midway through
new
Rebels
stuff,
right
which
now, and I'm actually impressed with how good it is.
yeah. Well, it's one of those things I started, and I've seen some things here and there, but I don't know. If I can't like the main characters, I can't.
Yeah, I
can't
totally
get
understand
into the
that.
show.
I have always wanted to go to Tunisia just to see the set, which is probably destroyed
Yeah.
by now. And
Yeah, a lot of it is, but they did rebuild it for some of the other movies.
and the Krayt Dragon skeleton that's just sitting there.
Right. So another thing I used to overthink as a kid was the shadows you used to see, which clearly are probably just like cameras and things, out of frame. But I'm always like, oh man, that must be like clouds or something, and it whatever. But it's just like every little thing your brain wants to fill in all the details for, which I guess is what we were just talking about, and also why there's 1,000 million page Wikipedia out there right now.
It's just as extensive as regular Wikipedia.
Probably more articles, if anything, and also it just reinforces the fact that everything that has been said about this movie has been said already.
Yes.
Which is fine.
I mean, I've explained this to people. Like, the reason we became friends was because of Star Wars, and it means a lot to me for that reason.
Yeah, and my, lustful. I was just very impressed by your collection of Power of the Force, of Star Wars memorabilia.
Well, that was because I didn't have any friends, Matt.
Well, neither did I really, but you still had a better. I still remember you told me that your mom used to put things on layaway for you. And I'm like, oh my god, my mom doesn't do that.
I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. You used to let me play with them every now and then.
I remember I was playing a lot. Teeny. Are Jawas native to Tatooine?
No, I want to say they're like everywhere.
A friend of mine had an idea for a Star Wars series that was just American pickers in space, and every time they get to it, and every time they get to a person's house that's selling something, there's always Jawas there. Like, that's the joke, is that they're continually beat by people whose main mode of transportation is slower than a fast walk.
That's funny. I would watch it. Of course, remember what is it? The OG internet content known as Troopers, which was like cops in space.
Yes.
Also, you were right. They are originally from Tatooine, but they do show up in other places.
I watched a thing the other day of the hardest Super Nintendo levels of any video game that you could play, and one of them was the interior of the Jawa sandcrawler from Super Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I just remember the hours you and I sat there just trying that one section.
Yeah, I want to say once you get past it, it's still hard, but it's not as punishing. It's still achievable.
Yeah, there's no password system.
At least it's not like the original Famicom version of where Darth Vader turns, or a Scorpion turns into Darth Vader or something. Very mind-blowing. gibbering in another language. Must have been his inspiration for the holiday special.
Gonk.
And clearly the best character in the whole, series.
Easily the most powerful character in the Lego Star Wars games.
Oh yeah, you do not mess with Gonk Droid. Isn't his alternate fire or something just him dancing or something?
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. It's great. How many? So here's a plot hole. How many droids wash up in Tatooine for the Jawas to have a thriving industry selling them to the farmers?
I don't know. This is supposed to be Outer Rim, right? Or is it Mid Rim?
It's Outer Rim.
I don't remember. Yeah. So, I guess more than you'd expect.
Oh, dewbacks.
Oh man. So obviously we did not see it, original Star Wars in theaters, but man, were the special editions like the most exciting thing to ever happen.
That trailer was just incredible. Where the X-wing comes out of the TV, it's just mind blowing.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh man, computer graphics will never get better than this. Little did he know they did.
Yeah.
The next day.
Yeah. 5 minutes later. Say what you will about Kenny.
Star Wars. Go ahead.
I've never understood why Kenny Baker was in the suit.
Well, could they actually do robotics back then very well? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, eventually, they didn't need him in the suit. Sadly enough, if I was in the Star Wars universe, I'd probably be a hypochondriac droid like C-3PO, not some swashbuckling rogue or something.
Exactly, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, but he's very ignorant of what's going on. He just has bad takes,
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's unclear. I think he's had his mind wiped, right? I forget.
Yes, he does at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
That's right. So it's really not his fault, but... It's like more of a table tennis sort of guy, but let's get it, bocce.
Yes, I get it.
So they say if you explain the joke, it makes it better. So
sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it is funnier to just.
He just has like the superpower to like absolutely annoy every single human he comes into contact with immediately. I never caught as a kid the shutting up, sir. I was convinced it was added in the special edition, but no.
He actually says that?
VHS tapes. Oh. Yeah, I went back to the VHS tapes. I'm pretty sure I heard it. Could be wrong.
Did they say why they picked the red one over R5? Why they pick R5 over R2?
I think they think R2D2's too old and dirty or something.
Well, I mean, he's 60 years old at this time?
He's ancient, yeah.
I mean, doesn't he I know it's legacy, but doesn't he show up I love that action figure of R5 had his head opened and he shot a missile.
Oh yeah, it was great. So anyway, yeah, it's kind of like the 40K universe. The technology is so old and nobody innovates. They just try to find old technology for themselves and scavenge it. In one of the
the Legacy Star Wars with Cade Skywalker and R2 still kicking.
Oh yeah, he never goes away.
No, well I mean he killed God.
Yep, he certainly had a hand in it. And then in the new movies, he was like, "We're like R2, you could solve everything. Just help us." And he's just like, "Nah, bitch.
T16 Skywalker.
I'm sleeping." Oh yeah, and I never. It blew my mind that it's in the background there.
Yep.
Did you ever? Yeah, I never knew that. See, I'm just either noticing stupid details that don't matter, or just completely ignoring the ones that are right in front of me.
Do they actually call it Tatooine in this movie?
I want to say Obi-Wan might, right?
He might. I know he mentions Mos Eisley, but
It's a good call. I'm not sure. Oh no, I think Luke does when he tells somebody where he got the droids, right? Maybe.
Well, no, he says we'll rendezvous on Tatooine in Empire.
Hmm. Yeah, memory's just a fog right now.
Yes. Funny enough, he tells stories all the time.
And I accidentally paused it right there. My bad.
It's okay.
God damn, is that my sister I'll someday kiss on the lips?
So possession is the most important thing in droid law.
Seems that way. So this was Mark Hamill's like first big role, right? I think
Yes.
he acted a little bit before this.
Yeah, he was a teen heartthrob from what I remember.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That I did not know.
Sneaky little bastard. I always thought, like, when I was younger, before I realized that it was, his plan to get the bolt off. Like, why didn't he give? Why doesn't R2 get an oil bath as well?
Yeah, damn man. Missing out.
One of the alternate ponchos in Jedi Fallen Order is the roof of this room.
Somebody made the joke that Uncle Owen had promised to paint the roof
Mm-hmm.
like 20 years ago, and it's still not painted. And I'm like, yep, can relate. Can relate.
Blue milk and cereal.
I never noticed it was blue milk, but yeah, it's certainly a callback that
Mm-hmm.
they always just sneak right in there.
I love how she's just wearing a denim jacket.
Oh man, this must be like the perfect representation of 1970s parenting. Shut up, boy. Do work. So they don't have the Anchorhead scenes. I always forget that, right? Where
No,
Biggs and
oh no, they cut that. Yeah, that was cut out.
yeah, I just they never remastered anything, I guess.
No, and it's because that's not needed. It just
No,
says
it's not. But I like Biggs so much that
yes.
and it develops Luke a little bit into less of a kind of a little whiny
If
guy.
the
I mean, it actually shows that he's got very few friends, and that he really looks up to Biggs, which I guess we get all that.
If there is one shot in film that could be called perfect, this is in the running. There's one scene.
Oh, yeah.
This is perfect, and nothing, and it's all of its aspects combined together, building to it.
Yeah, I was thinking about what really lifts a lot of this movie, and it's certainly mostly just like carried by how tight it is, right? Is from scene to scene, and it just like it always pushes you through with the plot. But then for me, music certainly is like 30 to 40% of it.
Well, I mean that's.
But yeah, and in that scene, it's like a perfect split between all of it, right? Like you said, where it all kind of comes together.
I appreciate how fast he is.
They didn't fix that detail.
What?
There were Arabic numerals instead of Arbesh or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Arbesh.
yeah.
Oh, then again, some of their symbols do look like our symbols. So.
Yeah.
I'll try not to be a nerd and point out every single little stupid.
Matt, it's
stupid
okay.
detail.
You're among friends. Space vegetables.
It's like, what you making? Space goulash. That is like her one outfit, isn't it? Guess they all only have one outfit.
Yes. I appreciate that it no longer has the Vaseline wiped over it.
Oh yeah. Yet another mode of transportation that is like the slowest thing ever, yet they can laser beam to their target.
Yes.
Like he's going 1,000,000 miles an hour on a speeder, and they're like, hello.
Well, they can cross rougher terrain, I guess.
Yada yada yada, yeah, I guess.
It's also a really fast movie. You know?
Sand people. Well, yeah, actually I don't know. Actually never even considered like what the actual runtime is, because yeah, it always seems like it's over before it starts.
Mm-hmm.
It says 121 minutes, so it's not bad.
Just remember, this guy got high off a space lizard, stuck it up his nose, and then made his gaffer stick.
That's how you do it, man. You gotta go on your spirit vision quest.
We're gonna ransack this car.
I'm always like, why are they pulling like tiles like off the thing? Like I don't.
I've never noticed the cave drawings in the top on the right.
Oh no, I might have missed them. Also, I've also never cared about the goddamn rock that they inserted or not inserted. I just don't care. Like he's a robot. I would just assumed he had the ability to like mask his presence or something.
Yeah. Also, this is ridiculous to me.
What? He's like...
You spent years with R2. You should remember him. I understand the reasoning But
He's gone desert mad. I don't know. Yeah, and also, yeah, coincidences happen all the time, especially with, space magic and whatnot. So
yep.
he should, yeah, totally be like, oh, yeah, how you doing? I want to say it was established that he never learned to understand R2, though. So even if it wasn't or was, he wouldn't be able to communicate.
Well, that face right there could say, like, okay, I think I recognize this droid.
What, you're telling me George Lucas didn't know every single detail of...
I know.
And didn't just adapt this to whatever, he's just, like, almost dying of a heart attack there in the corner of stress. He's like, oh, shit! Forgot to put in the detail about the robot. But then he comes back years later, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, I knew the whole thread the whole time. I'm a genius. And you're like, no, George. You're kind of just pulling this out of your ass. And some of it's tracks, right? Some of this is great. But some of it, as we've seen, not so much.
You owned several droids. They all got shot down or blown up. It's not your fault that you can't recognize them. Or it's not their fault, I should say.
Yeah, he didn't even bother to learn their names.
I remember in one of the books, like, at least the break was at a joint and not midway through.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets messed up in almost every movie, huh?
He is a very persnickety robot.
Well, he's a very tragic character.
I love the idea that they're both just already fed up with him.
Yeah.
It's a really sad line.
And I kind of screwed it all up by trying to train him myself.
It wasn't his fault. I mean, who else was he supposed to train him?
There's this whole theory, right, that had Qui-Gon lived, like, he would have been able to properly train Anakin. And instead, Obi-Wan was thrust into going through the trials.
Right.
Whether or not he was ready or not. He was just like, oh yeah, usher you along, right? And then he kind of took it. He felt the obligation, right, to train Anakin. And
the coolest thing in the world.
I don't know. I'm one of those that if I were like to play a Star Wars RPG, I always wanted to try to get out of having to use a lightsaber.
I don't understand why they weren't like standard issue like light daggers. You know?
I think the fact that the crystals are kind of hard to find.
That's true.
There are vibroblades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I still can't wrap my head around that exactly.
Force. There's so much dialogue in this movie that the weight of the really good actors in it is the only thing that makes it actually like work.
Oh yeah. And like right there, it doesn't always even that they try their best, right? They still can't make a turd into gold.
But they do their damnedest.
Oh, they do.
What did you think of the Obi-Wan series?
I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people kind of thought it. I mean, I did think it looked kind of cheap. Um, it looked like they just bought prop lightsabers and things, which whatever. Uh, and there was a lot of fan service, which I bought into a little bit, but I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I liked it
There
a
were
lot.
parts that were really good. There were parts that were really good, and there were some parts I was perplexed by.
Yeah, I love that the first fight between him and Vader is just him. Nope, running away.
Oh yeah, yep. He's like, can't do it. Run away.
Twin sons of Tatooine, age a man to 56 years old.
Well, to be fair, yeah, 58. Although in canon, what is Obi-Wan supposed to be?
Somewhere
I guess
around
also around. Yeah, it's just
Have you ever
the
read?
Scots. The Scots.
Have you ever read From a Certain Point of View?
No, is that a short story?
It's a series of short stories, and they're all based on each of the movies. And like
My guess is it all depends on when it came out. Because if it came out like after 2010, I probably haven't read it. But if
it did
before 2010, oh, okay, then I
but
probably have
it's
not
just a
read
bunch of short stories about the original series, and there's one about this guy right here talking about how, well, I have nothing but respect for Vader's religious beliefs.
Man, Peter Cushing, the man who was meant to play evil, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, although I think he might have played Van Helsing.
He
which
did.
I guess technically might have not been evil, but...
The toy
Did
line?
you have... Yeah, I was gonna... Did you have the pen that had the 4 different sayings for Darth Vader? One was like, I have you now.
I don't think so.
Don't underestimate them. Yeah, so I had that. I used to annoy the crap out of my sister with it.
I love that in Clone Wars, Vader and Tarkin actually become bros.
Hmm.
And I think he's like one of the few people who knows that Vader is Skywalker.
Yeah, I want to say he did start out as like a capable military leader, right? And then he just slowly, faded into, or transitioned into, power-hungry tyrant.
Yeah.
I want to say, I might have read Rogue Planet. I want to say maybe he was in that. Actually, Greg Bear, who wrote it, just recently passed away. He's one of the. He wrote a lot. I don't know if he wrote a lot of Star Wars books, but he wrote a lot of science fiction books. It was like one of the first Star Wars expanded universe books I read.
He also called them robots there, which has always bothered me. He says if they trace the robots here, then they may trace it back home. But he says, yeah.
I mean, what is a droid if not a robot, Lucas? Also wasn't a very observant child, so I never actually saw what the charred carcasses here. It was just like, what's the big deal? The house is on fire. They can rebuild. But I want to say they like stop on it, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Duh. It's pretty messed up if you think about it.
Yes, for a children's movie.
was, yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Also a great shot.
Yep.
I love how many of these things became like enemies in Star Wars games.
Oh yeah, because people didn't think of new things, right? They were just like, oh yeah, of course there's gonna be probe droids fucking everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And those interrogation droids are in Dark Forces a lot.
Forces, yeah. Coming to stick you with the good stuff. This is how Jawas, perform their burial ceremonies, right? They just fucking throw them all onto a pile and
He just eats it there.
call it a day. It's a little suspicious, right? I mean, like 5 minutes ago, this old man was asking him to go off planet with him, and now conveniently, there's a reason he will now? Like something just happened to his parents? Or his aunt and uncle?
Okay, Mos Eisley does look bigger than I remember it looking, so that makes sense in Book of Boba Fett and stuff that it's a pretty big city.
Well, is it Mos Eisley versus Mos Espa? I forget.
I believe this is Mos Eisley, and
Yes. Is that other one Mos Eisley as well? I don't remember.
I thought it was.
Might be, and honestly, they're the same friggin' place. Like, I don't. Might as well just be one city on this planet.
I am still of the volition that, it's been 20 years since the prequels. We should get a prequel special edition. Update the
why
graphics.
not? Just put some Rontos in there. I don't even care. I don't care if they're like flying spaceships. Just put a Ronto in space.
Rontos in the Geonosis factory.
Yep. I used to make those little trooper droids there out of Legos. R2D2 just on the back, vibing.
I'm gonna take a nap. Since you don't
never
need me
get
right
them
now.
all to fit. All my toys, I just couldn't get them all to fit on there properly because the original toy was just kind of crap.
Yep, and I remember having pegs to stand on in the back, but that's just for R2. But that's not movie accurate.
I know. I don't know. I feel like I need to write my senator or something about this. Ruined childhood.
But I'm going to keep my hood up.
I want to say he mentions Tatooine when he's talking to the guy in the briefing for the Death Star. He used to bullseye womp rats.
I'm back on.
He
says back home.
Maybe he says, "Oh, damn it, you got me." Dewback. You see the dewback? I'm glad this scene is mostly intact. Like,
yes.
I would like it's enough they did Sly Snoodles dirty. But
yeah, they added more.
I guess they just added more weirdos, which is fine.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't already have enough of them,
but we could always use more
has
weirdos.
a goddamn backstory. Well, yeah, someone's got to be writing books, keeping those writers employed.
Deveronian.
What if you like they botched that scene? Like his eyes were supposed to like change when they passed, but instead there's a delay. It just looks like he missed his cue. And there's that man that was added for no reason, I want to say, or maybe not. What? Little white boys? You don't serve little white boys here?
And the what sisters are they? The Masters of Terras Kasi?
Why'd you have to do that, Lucas? Lucas put me on the spot like that. Something sisters. You're right. It's just the sisters. They're assassins or whatever.
Yeah.
I did read Tales from Mos Eisley, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's just bam, it's gone. I had that toy. I know that. 'Cause I was a spoiled little brat. So these are the guys that I wish they'd stop putting in things. You know, like just stop. Like it's a 2-minute scene. Stop doing fan service in other movies. It's like, really? Why would you say that about me? You said I had a lot of potential. I was like, way over here.
And like the only time there's blood in the entire series.
Just this awkward shot of a miniature or whatever.
I'm gonna go back to smoking my space hookah.
Yeah, vape is life.
And we're gonna keep playing jizz.
I'm not gonna respond to that.
I know you're not.
I know that was bait.
I could make a joke there, but I'm not going to.
You didn't say anything about the IG-88 heads as the background of the bar, Lucas.
That's true.
You're slipping.
I'm slipping. I'm slipping on this hot jizz.
It's probably one of the only good jokes from the Family Guy Star Wars was like, hey, we're taking requests. Has anybody got any requests? And then the guy just puts a hand in front of his mouth. He's like, play the same thing about 100 times. And he's like, okay, same thing from the top. Boop bop boop bop boop bop bop.
I love his face is super incredulous there.
He's like, oh yeah, are you a little special boy? So isn't it true that Mel Brooks asked George Lucas if he could, parody Star Wars? And I think George Lucas said the only thing you can't do is have a Han Solo character or something, and so instead the main character of Spaceballs is dressed as Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. 17 space bucks. It's like, whoops.
What are the point of longer blasters and shorter blasters?
I don't know. To make you feel cooler, I guess.
I'm gonna have the hottest of hot takes right now. Well, I'll save it for when it comes up. But hottest of hot takes. I don't care about who shot first.
Well, you gotta give it to it that this looks bad. I mean, had they just made it look better, sure, I wouldn't care. But they just made it look bad for no reason. They just showed a guy getting his arm lopped off. But I don't know. I'm with you. I'm tired of the conversation personally.
I remember seeing this is great shot of There's a great shot of George Lucas wearing a shirt that says Han shot first.
Yeah, he's probably one of the first troll directors for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's kind of supposed to show that his character doesn't give a crap and will just shoot somebody in cold blood,
mm-hmm.
which I guess you wouldn't necessarily want for your, family venture movie. See, look at his head. Do you see that?
Yeah, he moves his head.
It just looks stupid. It's like the same scene coming up with him walking over Jabba's tail.
It's gotten better each iteration.
It's true. There has been like 100 iterations.
He pays him for littering. Are those Jabba's droids then? Because the droid detector went off.
Oh, maybe they had a droid on them. Some righteous sideburns. It's a prerequisite for being an evil space fascist. I do appreciate a lot of the newer shows and stuff, like when they do like a movie set in this era, they actually make it look like that era, right? Like I think we said this with Solo and Rogue One, that everything just looks like analog and everyone has like porn star stashes and everything.
Sinister. Look how sinister this guy is.
Yeah, talk about how they have improved this. Because I want to say, like, my memory, I'm like, oh yeah, it looked like this when it first came out, but no. You go back and actually see when it looked like when it was released.
He's pink and light green.
Yeah, he's just so smooth. Such a smooth boy.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Chewbacca just... When they just transitioned to him, he was farther back, and now he's back forward. So you like teleported. My bookie.
My bookie. Another Greedo.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a
Actually, that's
Rodian,
like
but
his
it's the
brother or
same
something.
outfit.
What are you saying? Rhodians all look alike, Lucas? What are you saying? I mean, yeah, it is the same exact outfit. Probably the same exact actor. Added in post.
Stare at the
This
camera,
isn't,
boys.
this
Stare at
isn't
the
a
camera.
green screen. Yeah. Garandan, that's his goddamn name. God damn it, I remembered it. That's what I was doing when it was silent. I was painstakingly trying to remember that stupid character's name.
Big gun, big gun, big gun, big barrel.
I think we have talked about the different sizes of guns, and I'm just like, I mean, technology is scalable, and probably even in this era, right? Where
Right.
if you want more power, it needs to be bigger. And obviously, I'm just making this shit up because I don't know. But
I love
more
how
importantly, why does it kick, right? Why does
Yeah.
the blaster kick?
For me,
Who
what's
knows?
really funny is how loosely he fires his blaster. It's always so like there's no weight to it.
Yeah.
Like he kind of jiggles it every time he shoots it.
Yeah, my favorite is these are all guns that they just found at a surplus store and slap bits to.
Yep.
And so now, like, when people want to recreate it, they try to track down the original, like, service pistol. I think it's like a RAF flare gun or something. And so now it's like super expensive to find.
Well,
Or they're just like, oh, just give them AKs or something, because we just run.
They're everywhere. I do wish the AKs looked a little boxier, but I don't care that much.
Yeah, it took me out of it for a second, then I'm like, yeah, whatever. It works. but it makes sense for what they're trying to do
Mm-hmm.
in terms of they're supposed to, the original Star Wars. George Lucas has been on record. Maybe it's more recently he's retroactively said this, but he's like, yeah, this is supposed to be set in like, you know, uh, Reagan or Nixon, the 70s, right, with Vietnam and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to be this and that and everything. So yeah, AKs were around back then. Sure, why not?
We just watched we just watched a couple months back for one of the other podcasts we did. The Spy Who Loved Me, and all of the guns in that are the submachine gun the Stormtrooper blaster's based off of.
Oh, nice.
Perfect. Yeah, and there's this huge battle inside a super tanker, and everyone's just using Stormtrooper blasters. I'm like, this is giving me so many weird flashbacks right now.
Yeah, were they all making their shots?
They were making their shots, and they were throwing a lot of grenades for an enclosed space.
Yeah, that's not smart.
No.
You can have some tinnitus after that. Carrie Fisher's gone on record to say, like, yeah, I was just doing my worst British accent for this movie. Yep. She's like, it's very cringy, and I'm like, yeah. But it's so iconic. Am I the only one that didn't sexualize
No.
Leia? Like, I never thought of her that way. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. I don't know.
No, you're not a weirdo. It's really creepy how like the iconic outfits are this and the slave outfit.
Yeah, she's had a few other outfits, man.
And so many Empire apologists, just because the Empire looks cool, it just tacitly ignore the Alderaan thing.
It's the whole lie, right? That fascists make the trains arrive on time, which is factually incorrect. In fact, the trains were very not on time.
Right. They made a train run on time one time, sort of.
And it was the wrong train. The absolutely wrong train.
No safety rails. How do those people even get to that thing?
Yeah. Space boots. I don't know.
His lightsaber's green there. It's weird.
Yeah, a lot of the composite shots are just kind of wonky.
Yeah. If it's not abundantly clear, we're not watching off of Disney Plus because we can't really. Everything should match up pretty well, though, still.
Fingers crossed. If not, people, if they're anything like us who have memorized this movie front and backwards, they will understand what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Space chess.
Was it Dejeric?
I think so.
Is that the one?
Yes. If I recall.
I want to say this was meant to be like something else, but they're like, oh yeah, let's just make it this for like a 2-second scene, and I'm sure they've spent a lot of time animating that and creating those characters and things. Well,
so then that means that Wookiee on Wookiee
that
games.
About all,
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, first of all, that's very racist of you to assume that of all Wookiees. Number two, that doesn't seem like he's very well adjusted. You should probably seek a therapist. Yeah, it is very green, isn't it?
Yeah.
Weird.
I remember I used to watch a lot of like making of movies things back way back in the day, and I remember when the special editions were coming out, they showed the actual original film strips hadn't actually been taken care of very well, and so like before they restored them for the special editions, like all of the film had turned blue.
I was gonna say they had to like recolor, rebalance everything, and
Yes.
that's why certain things look completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, did you have the CD-ROM collection of discs that came with like, it was like the behind the scenes like making magic. That's what it was called.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think I had it, but I remember watching a lot of those.
Oh yeah, I used to pop that bad boy in and be like, oh man, I'm reliving the magic.
I actually just got that achievement in a video game today.
Which one's that?
Broforce. It's killing a guy, but with a bounce bullet.
Wait a minute, you're still playing Broforce?
I just started playing Broforce again. Well, there's going to be an update in July.
I thought that game was meant to be played with friends, thus the name Broforce.
Well, I would like to play it with other bros, but you know.
Well, geez, if only you knew any.
I know.
I was always very confused until Knights of the Old Republic came out and expanded on what Dantooine is.
It's like a farm planet, right?
Yeah, it's like pastures with funky animals, and there's a whole Jedi thing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm like, did he just misspeak? Because clearly he's like 80 like the guy's not saying those words. And this always looked funny to me. It looked like clearly people were just like hanging things from
yes,
from,
and
like,
they're just throwing glitter in space.
Yeah, well, it's fine. His first instinct is to start blasting.
So I just started blasting. He says transmissions in such a weird way, and it's stuck with me my whole life. How would you get lost in space? Ask the Robinsons.
I was gonna make the joke. Yeah, poor TIE fighter pilots. You know, no life support.
Yeah, no hyperdrive.
No torpedoes of any kind.
No shields.
In the cold, cold dark of space. I always hated like Han's arc. Like he doesn't really have much of one. I mean, he does, I guess, but I guess it never felt very believable. I know that's a hot take. Like one minute he's just like power. He's like money loving rapscallion man decides to turn around and help out, and then all of a sudden I guess in the next one he's like kind of back to his ways, but then he gets pulled back. So I don't know.
And then
I've never seen, and it was never believable in the books that he like settled down. In fact, all the writers were always like, yeah, he can't just sit still. He wants to go be a bastard out there in space somewhere.
Yeah, he went almost respectable was the line that always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I always, and then if you go to the Disney movies, his arc is he's regressed back to worse from than he was in A New Hope.
Yeah, that was always really sad. Poor space grandpa can't retire. He hadn't saved enough in his space 401k.
God, I'm old. I have a 401k now.
Unless he just, liked what he did or just tells himself the lie that it's like, yeah, I just like working. I like, using my hands.
But we'll get there.
This guy's such a kiss ass. guns hang low, do they blah 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 blah. Any time and a knock, any time and a bow. Thank you. Wouldn't want to be trapped in one of those if Chewbacca had just been a Taco Bell. Hey, hey. Just pet him like a dog. Oh, Gong Droid I've never seen before. Let him go. Holy shit. It's amazing.
Stealth roll.
Did you see that? Did you see that there was a Gong Droid right there?
Yes, I did.
I never knew that. So I always felt kind of bad because those guys just get. I mean, everybody here gets murdered, right? Eventually.
Yes.
Because they're just doing their job. But then there was this video I watched about the banality of evil and how even just an impassive person can actually contribute to the greater evil by just either participating and or doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's my small thesis that I stole from somebody else.
I mean, how much of the rebellion is just former Imperial soldiers who finally had enough?
Yeah, kind of a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I've always hated the overabundance of stormtroopers represented in various things. Like, they're really not meant to be everywhere, you know?
Yes.
But at the same time, the whole idea behind it is to kind of... They weren't really supposed to take their helmets off, and their comms are, like, monitored and stuff to make them, like, basically feel alone, right? And just disconnected. And also faceless, I guess, right, too. But yeah, that was actually something I was excited for in Force Awakens. You know, Finn's arc, right? I think we've talked about how disappointing that was.
Oh, yeah. The amount of arcs that were disappointing in those series is...
Well, yeah, that's true. That's right up there, though. That's like top of list.
Stormtrooper who becomes a Jedi is really cool to me. And nothing.
Or just, like, more, you know? Even if he's not a Jedi. Like, just something. Just don't make him, like, the comic relief. You know? That's kind of sad. Because there's enough comic reliefs everywhere in those movies. Why didn't they just rebrand it as a comedy? Whoa, that's ageist there, Han Solo. Did your parents have feathered hair in the 70s?
No, my mom might have, but my dad has very curly hair, so he had a very large... yes.
Manfro, yeah.
Yeah.
Be fair, you know, Luke is significantly shorter than Harrison Ford. Or
yes, he
Mark
is.
Hamill's significantly shorter than...
And he's also apparently significantly dumber. He, like, or not dumber, but, like, more oblivious. Like, he didn't realize that Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford were having an affair the entire time these movies were being made. And, like, he'd just show up at one of their houses at 7 or 8 in the morning, and they were both there.
He's just a kid.
Yes.
Kid growing up in the 70s. I can understand. Nobody even knew what a mitochondria was back then.
It's the powerhouse of the
and
cell.
that it was, yeah, I was going to say that. It was the powerhouse of the cell. I don't know. I lament at the fact, right? It's like, you know, looking back at any history, right? It's like, what would have happened had X been in control, right? You know, the whole Thrawn. I mean, Thrawn was Imperial. was a bad guy, but he had greater intentions, right? He's like,
Yes,
okay,
and he
I have to
didn't.
fight the, he didn't like, uh, you know, excessive loss, right? He didn't
Right.
like to see, resources wasted. That included human life, right, or person life, whatever.
Yeah. He killed. He did. He wasn't going to kill you for incompetent. Well, he was going to kill you for incompetence, not for failure.
No, I think he was all about like uh, career development. Let's just put it that
Mm-hmm.
way. Like if you've read any of the books, it's like he's always trying to be like a mentor and to try
Mm-hmm.
to teach people how to think creatively or proactively and all this crap.
Right.
Those white uniforms, are they ISB, Lucas? I
I
can't
think
tell.
they are.
El posible. Yeah, I don't think I have any 5 degrees of separation to like. Some people are like, oh yeah, my so and so knew somebody that you know worked on Star Wars, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I have a single connection personally, other than my undying appreciation for it.
Exactly.
Did you ever see THX 1138?
Um, many moons ago.
Yeah, I did too. It was very wild from what I remember. Not very interesting or exciting, but certainly one of those 70s art house films you
Yes.
hear so much about. I want to say they want to remake it. I think I heard that somewhere. It's like, look out, that man is slowly meandering towards us like an idiot.
I was thinking about it the other day. Last time we were doing this, I said my most commonly used, Star Wars line is, "Hello, what do we have here?" This is a close second.
Yeah, mine has always been the keep your distance, but don't look
Yeah.
like you're trying to keep your distance.
Well, fine. We're all fine now. How are you? Or yeah, boring conservation.
Kind of wish I could end most of my Zoom calls that way.
Shooting your computer. Just your computer budget is now. It's a drill tweet.
Yeah.
Helps candles $3,600. Help someone who's good at finances.
I think after certain expense reports, they'd be on someone's list. Oh shit! Wait a minute, who's Ben Kenobi?
She knows Ben Kenobi.
I know, but it's
Yes,
yeah. She calls him Obi-Wan in the message, though.
that's true.
Some rad chairs. I wish I could get one for my office.
I
need
would
a
feel
good computer
weird.
chair.
I feel weird if your computer chair was the one from the Death Star.
Well, his is a taller one. That's neat.
I'm
Look
sure.
very comfortable. They don't believe in lumbar support. So he says that, right? Which alludes to the fact that he expects Obi-Wan to try to fight him and lose, right?
Yes.
Am I wrong there?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this whole arc, like, he was like traumatized by the fact that Obi-Wan, vanishes, right? I guess maybe that's it, right? That, spoilers, he goes back to the Force.
Right.
He's like, oh shit, you can do that? Oh man, it reminds me of my first interaction with my current wife. First time we met, she did not like me. Oh, Snickers. So is that just like one of those infinite hallways, right? Why don't they go that way?
Such a great line. Just it settles up everything. She's
I
the
wish
one.
somebody used to call me Flyboy. I said I wish.
I love how all this clear refuse is made out of foam. Where all this foam came from inside a giant
It's Space Mississippi, Lucas. They've fallen into Space Mississippi.
and then the Dianogue. Also, a story in a certain point of view, which is it was someone's space pet that he flushed down the toilet.
Wow, that means there's at least 2 stories centered around just the Dianoga. That's some lore right there.
It's Star Wars. There's heavy lore.
Or it's just, honestly, it's just all fanfic. I mean, I don't know. That's how seriously I take it. It's like discovering someone's blog. So you're not going to say anything about the gun jamming, Lucas?
What, the gun jammed?
What's yeah? How's the gun jam if there's no
Oh, I don't know.
The chamber, right?
That's true. Space tech? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Just think about all those YouTube videos where they're trying to trying their hardest to find every little thing that's like a callback to something else, right? Like that's fan service. They're like, oh, that pipe in the background is what you see in episode 5 of Obi-Wan. And it's like, calm down. Just relax. Looks like one of those food service mats right there that you spend 8 hours on, standing on.
I remember when my work got a garbage compactor, I was just super excited. I'm like, oh man, I get to cosplay as this shit now.
Oh yeah. I was always terrified of the cardboard crusher. I refused to use it. It's like, I don't have the credentials for this, sir. So who's your favorite? Stormtrooper Han Solo or Stormtrooper Luke Skywalker action figure?
I don't know. They both are equally despicable.
Yes, Stormtrooper George Lucas. Jon Stewart.
Well, I mean, that's where Obi-Wan's from, Jon Stew.
Did I ever tell you that's what I got for a present for my two professors in college? Was for my creative writing and my nonfiction professors. I got them each a Star Wars action figure. One of, I think it was, Stormtrooper Han and Luke. I forgot
No,
who I
you did.
gave which, but that was my gift to them.
Nice.
And then they never talked to me again. They did. I think they exchanged like one email or something.
Oh, I bribed a professor with one of my favorite books that just happened to be about his particular field of study, and then that's how I
Hey,
passed his class.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep.
Pimp out your books.
Forget that how it's just fascinating how he's a robot and he's an idiot. Like
Yeah.
he has the capacity to forget.
He's got a faulty hard drive. I've had that problem before.
That makes sense.
Or maybe it's not enough RAM. I don't know. Insert computer thing. I just realized, like, well, I take that back. I was gonna say, like, out of the new series versus the original trilogy, like, which one's memed more? But probably
The prequels.
Obi-Wan from the original, right? Is probably from the prequels, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I've used that's a name I haven't heard in a long time, multiple times.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's no moon. Yeah, pretty much any scene has been memeified,
Mm-hmm.
except for this one, maybe.
Again,
Like,
no space OSHA.
no. I gotta go back and think if there's a single scene in this movie that doesn't have some form of music in the background.
Well, I mean that's part of the whole shtick.
No, I know. Some directors use, silence or the lack of music to build certain tensions and what have
Mm-hmm.
you, but this one is just full space opera. I get it. So they changed
Ouroboros.
that. Yeah, they changed that. So, not only a bigot, but a sexist. You're my suzerain. Yeah. I use that line all the time on my daughter. She's like, Daddy, do this. And I'm like, yes, madam, my queen.
For the royalty.
Yeah. I always thought he said, I think it's another girl. Like, because in the first scene, she, like,
Yeah.
kicks the shit out of a bunch of stormtroopers.
I love how in the video games they make the Jedi mind trick you just turn invisible, because that's the only way you can.
You might as well be invisible with their terrible sight lines.
Yes. Did her hair get bigger?
Maybe.
Why are the stormtroopers running away?
They lost their morale check, Lucas. I don't know.
This is a good change, I think.
Kind of.
I like that he just run. It's the original original
Well,
change,
there
the
was
original
there was
scene.
like a dozen. A dozen is a lot, and the other guys turned around. Yeah, it certainly amps up the tension. I think I did just recently watch this with Ariel, and she can't remember if she's ever seen it, and I'm like, where are the papers? Where are the divorce papers? Get them.
How many times have we watched this together?
I don't know, many, but yeah, she's like, oh yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I'm like, what? Pretty good. This is the basis for my whole personality. Thank you very much.
So, 3 months into Victoria and I being together, she texts me and says, okay, I have a confession to make, and I need to tell you, or otherwise my friends are going to tell you, so I'm just going to come out and tell you. I've only ever seen Phantom Menace. I've never seen any of the Star Wars films.
You're like, you had to like step away and be like, collect your thoughts.
well, for me, it's like, first off, don't start out like that.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, did you kill somebody? Like, what's going on? Did you run somebody over with your car?
ISB.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had to have been building the second Death Star as they were building the first Death Star, right?
Yeah, probably. What is it, only like 6 years between this movie and the next?
I don't even think it's 6 years between this. I think it's only like a year and a half between this and Empire.
What? I thought each movie, like, several years go by.
Maybe.
Star Wars timeline. BBY. ABY. Okay, well, this is clearly the year zero, right? In a way, 'cause
Right.
this is Battle of Yavin. So
this is a much more. This is a much more impressive fight than I remember it being, because I remember it being just like tap 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 tap.
well, they redid the lightsabers because they were terrible, right, in the original.
Right.
So the sound effects help. And so
I remember it being a
Fall
lot
the
of this.
Empire. God damn it, Wikipedia! I didn't need to know every single thing. Okay, it's like maybe 4 or 5 years between A New Hope and Return of the
And
Jedi.
Empire? Oh, okay.
No, I think it's only like a couple years, but I don't know.
Well, cool. Let's watch this awesome sword fight.
Taking bets? Anybody taking bets?
I mean, do we want to bet against the boss?
So I just checked the insert of my latest Thrawn book to see if there was a timeline in the front, and I'm deducting points to the new the new canon because there used to be
There used to be a
like an
timeline in
actual.
all of them. Yeah,
Well, there's a list of the books in order, but there used to be an actual timeline.
I
It's
picked
even
up.
called the timeline, but there's no dates. What the
Yeah,
hell? Anyway,
I picked up one of the High Republic books the other day to give that
yeah.
a shot. I haven't read it yet, but I don't even know what it is. I just saw it at a thrift store for $2. I'm like, well, you're in perfect condition and coming home with me.
Yeah, I've made it a habit to read anything by Timothy Zahn. So
Yeah.
he, made a bunch of Thrawn books for the new series or the new canon. And again, they're good. Are they original? Like Thrawn? No, those books are timeless. And the whole thing was like, okay, you mean that man you met like a day ago versus me who just lost my entire goddamn planet?
With family and
Right.
I've never understood how these guns work because it looks
Oh,
like
they
you
don't.
just
Yeah. Yeah. The geometry of it all doesn't make any sense, but it's still
yeah.
cool.
Oh, it's super cool. No one's denying that. But
Yeah. And these computers, they're just pointless. Like, what is it telling them? I always loved the close up of the TIE fighter pilots. It's
yeah,
so cool.
well, there's say what you will about George Lucas. Has an incredible eye.
Yeah, he
And
can do action pretty well as long as he doesn't, he doesn't reined in, right? It's like, okay, George, you can't make the whole movie a lightsaber battle, like in Revenge of the Sith, which
well,
was still cool. It was
it's
still
awesome.
cool.
How dare you? That whole lightsaber
But
fight's awesome.
but like I was mentioning earlier, it's like most of it for me is the music. Like if it were
Yes.
just them lightsaber fighting for 20 minutes, I'd be like, eh. But with Duel of the Fates blaring in the background, hell yeah, flip over that lava.
Well, that's part of the magic of cinema is that you can't take one part out and it work. You have to like
Well, like I was mentioning, like you do something to some effect, right? In some movies, it's like super loud like this, right? And I can barely hear myself. But what if it all of a sudden becomes very quiet, right? And so it's like, oh shit, tension.
well, that's what I meant by binary sunset. Binary sunset only works because of the music, but
Right.
that doesn't make it bad.
No, no, and yeah, this the whole film theory thing that I've never been able to ever properly articulate is like how all this stuff works because I don't know. It's like, are these Dutch angles? I don't know.
No, Dutch angles are when the camera's crooked.
I know. I'm kidding.
Field theory?
I know Dutch angles. I know boom mics. I know cigarette burns or marks or whatever.
Yes.
All of which I got from film. So it's like one of those things. It's the medium teaching me about the medium, which is very meta if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some really strong Stevie Nicks vibes from Carrie Fisher. Maybe it's just a later Carrie Fisher, but
It is for me, sister.
what do the little things in his back do? Like, does he store like sticks in the little things in his jacket? I don't know. And you got Luke over here always looking like he just came out of the bathroom in his bathrobe.
Yeah, he does.
So I'm one of those people who, and I don't know about you, but somehow my Star Wars experience isn't complete without the opening interview with Leonard Maltin and George Lucas. Do you remember that from the VHS?
I don't have that. I don't have that problem, but
okay. Well, I just missed that guy and his silly questions about Star Wars.
Meanwhile, at the space airport.
Damn, I could walk faster than this. Does this thing got Pong on it? Oh yeah, so I don't think the word Tatooine's used, but I think I was getting confused with her saying Dantooine.
Yes.
Like I was saying earlier. And then Thrawn came along and was like, "You need point defense fighters, idiots." My boy is making friends over there. Did you? Wow.
So
Okay,
he's saying
psycho.
he's saying that he used to bullseye womp rats back home. Fine, that are not much bigger than 2 meters. He's describing a rat the size of a large cow, and he's
Well,
and
I mean,
no
to be
one
fair,
is.
they go pretty fast, so I mean.
Yeah, but no one's saying to him like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! You had to deal with giant super predators." He says it so casually. No one calls him out to say like, "Wait a minute, what kind of weird shit did you go through on your planet that you came from?"
Right. I wonder if you ever encountered a crate dragon.
Is that filled with money or supplies?
I would assume money, but it's like what physical money isn't in space.
Well, I mean, we saw
the
in Andor, the payroll.
Did they? Yeah. It's got a point. Oh, slap. I always thought he couldn't really quite get that out without smirking.
Yeah,
Like,
no, he really couldn't.
It's like tried to have a straight face, like.
He seems like the guy. He seems like an actor who can't take non-serious roles seriously.
Oh yeah. Harrison Ford just had a series of roles that he's just like over the top, personality, action man.
Mm-hmm.
There's some subtlety to his acting, but not a lot. But I absolutely love him. Like everything
Absolutely.
Harrison Ford is, yeah, he's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's always like, "Oh, they kissed an Empire." I'm like, they kissed twice.
In A New Hope, yeah.
Not that I'm counting, because that would be weird.
It's weird that it happened twice. This guy looks like a principal. Like he's a principal of a high school.
He always reminded me a little bit of my grandpa.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, this friggin' 18-year-old kid that just showed up one day. It's like, what? What are your qualifications? Oh, my friend here says I can fly like crop dusters. He's like, all right, get in this advanced military friggin' starfighter, man. He kills some people. That's another thing. Like I don't even think he pauses for a moment to even consider that he is taking lives, right?
Yes.
Like,
well, I mean that's the
like,
the
Yahoo!
that is the downside of fascism. I mean, they've made them inhuman, so it makes them easier to deal with.
It's true.
The fact that the helmets aren't standard both bugs me and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because this is a military organization, but at the same time, it is an underfunded, thrown together rebellion.
Patchwork thing,
so,
yeah. So, in any of the Rogue Squadron games, because you definitely have played them, there's no choice here. You have to have played them.
They're so good.
Which fighter was your favorite?
Probably the Naboo Starfighter.
Oh, you stole mine. The one I absolutely hated was the B-Wing.
It just doesn't make sense.
The profile's just stupid. Like, you couldn't do any of the fun, like, buzz the towers or anything.
Yeah.
But I only really played Rogue Leader. I never played really much of the other Rogue Squadrons.
Actually, I'm going to change my answer because I remember the Jedi Starfighter in Rogue Squadron 3, I think, was just broken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Red button standing by.
I also really liked the Tide Vance. It was pretty sweet.
Man, now I want to play Empire at War. Why do you got to do that to me?
I go back to that every now and then.
I'm literally pulling up Steam to install it right now.
You should. Fortunately, the multiplayer is pretty garbage, but...
Oh, I'm so stoked. Jedi Survivor drops in March.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. Is it gonna be good?
I hope so. It's the sequel to Fallen Order.
Ah, there you go. The game
which was...
I had rage quit, sort of.
I know it sounds...
It was hurting my ego. I know, you told me to lower the difficulty. I am not going to do that. Too much pride.
Well, I played it on the hardest difficulty and got through about 2/3 of the game, and I just finally got tired of it and dropped the difficulty. I'm like, oh my god, this is so much more fun. This is so much more enjoyable, and I feel so much more like a Jedi.
Yeah, I was playing it on medium or whatever, and it was still... I couldn't even get past like one of the first bosses, and I'm like, god damn it. I don't think I was in the right mind frame. I wasn't Jedi Zen or something. The narrator, and he did not cover him in the slightest.
I've seen this movie countless times, I can't tell you, and the amount of tension that remains in this sequence is so absurd.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a thing that completely dissects this whole scene and how, every little thing is here to like amp it up.
And it works, even though I know Luke's going to be fine, the Death Star is going to blow up, everything's fine, but I'm still like goosebumps edge of my seat.
That's just how big their friggin' helmets are. I'm a bit of a Wedge stan. I also like Wedge. Biggs and Wedge, man, for life.
Yeah.
Iconic duo, even though they're not really a duo.
No, they are
Other
not.
than in Final Fantasy VII or whatever.
In most Final Fantasies.
Is that true? Yeah.
Front deflector screens. It's all power to front deflector screens.
Do you think this thing generates its own gravitational field?
Oh, it has to. It's a small size of a small moon, so.
Does it also have to be spinning though?
I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah, I don't know.
It spins.
Well, if it has to spin, then the whole front-facing laser thing, super laser thing, is kind of a moot point.
Well, but I mean, it could be like the Falcon and has its own internal gravity.
That's true. They came from behind.
Lost Tyree, lost Hutch.
These poor bastards. I want to say, like, I think Y-Wings are supposed to have, like, a gunner seat, you know?
Yes.
With
They're a
turret.
bomber.
Yeah, they're supposed to have a turret, but what do I know? Oh, no. I could never tell if Peter Cushing was just very British or just very German. Or just both, I don't know. This is General Dodonna. I'm a little drunk right now. He's from Space, Texas.
And yeah, so the thing being ray shielded, means that everything has to be ray shielded from now on.
What about Steve shielded or Bob shielded? Quality jokes. This poor son of a bitch. Yet another guy I knew for 10 seconds. I want to be the guy whose job it is just to stand in that circular thing that has no way to get out, you know?
Oh, yeah.
With all the computers. Like, what's his
Yep.
job? Like, I don't know. Is it like AC regulation? He's just up there making sure the temps are good. Everyone has some nice cool breeze.
This
on their
drop
face.
in is so just, ugh.
Used a few times, but to great effect.
Mm-hmm.
I've always, yeah, the miniature work is always so good. Um, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's obviously made in the 70s, but it still very much holds up.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hate it when they start playing around with it too much, because I like redid all the explosions and stuff sometimes, and they don't really need to. To be like a Foley artist, like one of the sound guys on one of these movies. I think I
Mm-hmm.
probably said this before, but it must have been so much fun. It's like, oh, I'll just take a walrus and slap it on a wet piece of cardboard, and it's Chewbacca.
Well, this is what I mean by the tension. Like, this music right now is ludicrous. Like, I can feel my skin retracting, and I know this is going to be okay, but it still just builds so well.
Well, you know he's gonna lose Biggs. Spoilers. Oh shit. I just want to say in Star Wars Infinities, I think he misses, and
Mm-hmm.
then
It goes in part way.
I think he survives, but then Yavin 4 gets blown up. I think the rebels do escape,
Yeah.
but I forget if that's the one that Leia becomes the chosen one.
No, that's the one where she becomes the chosen one when he dies on Hoth.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forget the one where Han is blind. Yeah, maybe he's blind in that one. He stays blind.
Yeah.
Like Hoth blind or something. I don't know. Darth Vader becomes a pimp and he's white.
Mm-hmm.
I have you now. It really looks like he got completely destroyed, you know? It is kind of silly they're just all standing there, not evacuating.
That would be a really cool tattoo. That like explosion looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just be a nice like subtle thing.
Mm-hmm. What? I fucking love that.
Mm-hmm.
What? That one dumb idiot that just saves his life by crashing into him. So, totally a theory I stole, but it's like Luke knew his computer wasn't going to work. That's not necessarily because each one of the guys who went down the trench before him tried to use their computers and, you know, to no use, right? They were all
Yeah.
like faulty and not calibrated right.
And then you've got Obi-Wan telling him.
Although it's supposed to be about him using the Force, it's also meant to be telling. I mean, he tells him to trust himself
Yeah.
because the computers are broken. Yeehaw! Carrie! Yeah, I watched all your friends die and then I decided to show up and save the day. It's like, you'll be fine. We gotta go drink beers.
Why don't we get more of this outfit?
I know, you've been a huge fan of the Yellow Jacket, which I think he is. There is a comic run that does have him in the Yellow Jacket a bit.
It's a little too big, but I mean, if they were to ever do it again, it would look good, and they could, actually tailor it to him.
Story of my life.
I love how many things have given Chewie a medal, like in expanded universe.
Oh yeah,
Like
he's got too many medals at this point. Just
yeah.
God. And you know my stance on Chewbacca. I fucking hate Chewbacca.
I know you hate Wookiees. You have a weird Wookiee hatred.
I just hate that everyone loves them for no reason. It's like, what do they do? They don't do anything. They apparently rip people's arms out of their sockets is what they do, Lucas.
Yeah, they're all maladjusted.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to be fair, their whole race was subjugated to build the Death Star.
Yes.
Aww. Oh man, it's just the guy on the left there has got a righteous mustache.
Yes, he does. Man, this movie holds up really well.
Well, it better. I mean, it's been the basis of a multi-billion-dollar franchise for the past
50
however long
years.
we've been alive.
Yeah. Oh. So that was A New Hope. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing well. If we can pull it off, we'll have a special supplies by the end of the year. Everyone,
No promises.
No promises. Matt, you got anything you want to plug?
Oh, never.
You know, I think at the end of this you're gonna just say, "Oh, I'm working on my novel."
Yeah, I'll do something specifically just so I can plug something by the last movie.
Okay. You can find us at swordinboardcast.podbean.com. We're on most streaming platforms. If there's anything that you would like us to be on, drop us a line at swordinboardcast on Twitter. I am occasionally updating there and shitposting. Everyone, join us next time. We will be talking about something else. Have a good night, everyone.
Adios.